Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So today I am going to be doing a haul video, and in this haul I will be showing you guys my book purchases from BookOutlet because they had an incredible Boxing Day sale that I just obviously had to take advantage of. So this is the big book, big box. So this is the big box I got from BookOutlet. It is huge and it's kind of heavy, but yeah, let's dive in. So the first book I have here is Secret by Lindsay Smith. This book takes place in communist Russia and focuses on a woman named Yulia who has psychic capabilities. So when she touches someone, she can read their thoughts. And she's not the only one with psychic abilities. There's other young people who have the same abilities that she has. And the KGB, in turn, gets really interested in all these people's psychic abilities and decides to force them to help them out in protecting their space program from the American CIA spies. Yulia isn't a fan of helping the KGB, so it's about her basically sticking it to the man, as one would say, I suppose. What else would a fierce independent woman want to do, right? Right? This just sounded like an extremely interesting read, and I had heard about the book before, so I just had to buy it, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. So the next book I have is The Miner's Daughter, which is written by Gretchen Moran-Loskis. There's weird noises happening. I'm not sure. Weird noises! This book focuses on a miner's daughter, and from my understanding, she's very frustrated with her life. She doesn't feel as if her life is going to amount to anything, but then her family gets basically the chance of a lifetime and things start looking up. But also with that, every good thing comes with a price. And it seems to me that it's about a woman who basically comes into her own and finds her own strength despite this price, I guess. I have heard great things about it. I've heard that the writing is gorgeous, so I am really looking forward to this book as well. Okay, so the next book I have is The 100 by Cass Morgan. So basically in the series, Earth is completely devastated by a nuclear war and the human race has escaped to space to continue their existence. Years down the line, 100 delinquents are chosen to go down to Earth to try and recolonize it, and it's about what they find on Earth and stuff like that. That's all I know about it based on what I've heard from the television show and other people talking about the series, but I am really looking forward to reading this. Next is Hexed by Michelle Chris. This book follows the story of Indy, who is your stereotypical high school cheerleader whose mom just happens to run an occult shop, and one day someone dies in front of her, and roughly around the same time or the same night, I'm not entirely sure, her family's Bible, which is super precious, her mom's been super protective over it for years, goes missing. And then next thing she knows, she has this mysterious stranger telling her that she needs to locate this Bible or else all the witches in the world are going to die. And on top of that, she's a witch, which means she's gonna die as well. All of this information is brand new to her, and it's just about her journey looking for this Bible and discovering her new witchy self. Once again, this is a book that I've heard a lot about, and I'm very curious to dive into this and see what kind of twists and turns Michelle Chris can provide for me. My next book is Etiquette and Espionage by Gail Carriger. I honestly don't entirely know what this book is about. I saw a friend of mine post this on Goodreads and I was just fascinated by the cover and the title just sounded super interesting, and then I saw it on BookOutlet and I was like, I'll give it a try. But I'm under the impression it's about a finishing school and they teach you etiquette and how to dance and proper things that you would learn in a finishing school. But they also teach you about death and espionage and stuff like that. And it just sounds so interesting and so fun. And yeah, I am once again really looking forward to this book. Next is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This book focuses on the last public execution in Ireland. Nowhere close. It's Iceland. Iceland, not Ireland. This book focuses on the last public beheading that happened in Iceland in the early 19th century, and the person in question is a woman who is basically convicted for murder. This book just looks like it's going to be a gorgeous read, and it sounds like it's going to be so fascinating. I have never read a book that's set in Iceland before, so I'm really curious to see how much of the culture it goes into. Next is Between the Lines by Jodi Picoult and Samantha Van Leer. I honestly have no idea what this book is about, but I am very familiar with Jodi Picoult's name, and I've seen her books everywhere. I've just never picked one up. So I just thought this would be a great opportunity for me to finally pick one up and see what all the rage is about. Next, I have Monstrous Beauty by Elizabeth Fama. I'm sorry, I'm awful at pronouncing names. This book appears to be a retelling of The Little Mermaid, which is awesome. I'm very big into fairy tale retellings right now for some reason. I just think they're super fascinating, and I love fresh takes on old tales. So I'm really curious to see what this retelling has to offer. Next is Pretty Crooked by Alyssa Ludwig. This just sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun, and this is another kind of fairy tale retelling. It's about a female modern day Robin Hood who takes from the rich kids at a prep school to give to the poor kids. Like I said, it just sounds like it's going to be a blast and a half to read. Next is Mind Games by Kirsten White. This book focuses on two sisters, and they both have different abilities. Annie is blind but can't see visions of the future, and then Fia was born with flawless intuition. And basically they get invited to a school which ends up being more dangerous than they thought it would be. I have heard mixed reviews about this book, but to me it just sounded super interesting, so I went ahead and picked it up. Next is Temptation by R.L. Stine. Honestly, all I know about this book is it's R.L. Stine and vampires, and that's all I really needed to know. I haven't read R.L. Stine since middle school, so I just thought this would be an interesting way to be nostalgic about reading it, but also kind of fresh, because it's one that I haven't read before. Next is The Lux by Anna Godberson. Godberson? Once again, bad at names. This is the first book in the Lux series, which I have heard a lot about. I'm under the impression that's basically Gossip Girl in the late 1800s, and that sounds really interesting to me. And I'm kind of on a historical fiction kick right now, so put in some scandalous Gossip Girl drama and I'm all for it. Next is The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan. This book follows a girl named Mary who is raised in a village in the middle of the woods, and there's a fence that protects the village, as well as a organization called the Sisterhood and an organization called the Guardians. As time goes on, Mary begins questioning the Sisterhood and the Guardians and wanting to know more about the village and the forest that surrounds it. I have heard that this is absolutely terrifying, so I am very anxious to start reading this. Next is The Shining Girls by Lauren Buquez. Names and they're complicated, and I'm so sorry. This book is about a serial killer who can time travel, and I'm under the impression that the final girl he has to kill, or is destined to kill, escapes, and now she is out to bring him to justice. I mean, there's time travel, murder, and mystery. What more do you need? Next is Steel by Carrie Vaughn. This book is about a young woman who gets transported back in time and ends up having to join a pirate crew. I mean, come on guys, pirates. What's not interesting about pirates, right? Next is Starstruck by Rachel Schuckert. This book takes place in 1930s Hollywood and focuses on a woman named Margaret who gets discovered by a studio bigwig, and basically everything is great, everything is fine and fantastic, she's enjoying the fame, but then one of her co-workers suddenly goes missing, and then all of a sudden things get revealed, and basically not everything is what it seems when you join the Hollywood studio world. I mainly picked up this book because I'm doing the Pop Sugar Reading Challenge of 2016, and one of the categories is a book set in your home state. And this is set in California, so I figured this would be a good option for that category. Next is Serafina by Rachel Hartman. This book is about a young woman named Serafina who was raised in a world where humans and dragons coexist peacefully. And she is a gifted musician, so gifted enough that she gets invited to the royal court. But then, one of the members of the royal family gets murdered in a way that implies that it is by the dragons, which causes a huge uproar, and Serafina gets caught up in the investigation of it. And Serafina has a secret herself that she does not want people to know regarding her music. I have heard a lot about this series, and I don't think I've ever read anything dragon related in my life, so I just saw this and I just had to pick it up. Next is Sultan Storm by Kendall Culper. This book follows the story of a witch named Avery, but her mother has raised her in a way that she cannot tap into her magic. So Avery is just dying to get her birthright, dying to be able to unlock her magic. And then one day she gets a nightmare that basically foretells her eventual murder. So she freaks out, and it's about her journey to try and unlock her magic so that she could prevent her murder from happening. What's interesting about this book is it's set on an island, and so there appears to be a lot of sea life and sailing aspects in it, which I am very curious to read, and especially curious to know how that ties in with the magic. And then I have The Secret Prophecy by Herbie Brennan. This book follows the story of a boy named Edward, and his father has just been murdered, so he's on the run, and then he comes across this prophecy by the famous Nostradamus, which is basically foretelling the end of the world, which his father was trying to prevent. So now Edward has to pick up where his father left off in order to prevent the world from ending. Disclaimer, this is a children's book. I love children's books. I still reread the children's books that my mom read to me when I was young, and I still get enjoyment out of them. Also, it just sounded really cute. We finally made it to the last book, and that book is Feud by Avery Hastings. This book is set in a world where there are priors and imps. Priors are the upper class, imps are the lower, looked down upon class. And the character focused on in this book is a girl named Davis, who is a prior, and she becomes romantically involved with an imp. It seems to me like it's a Romeo and Juliet story, and I'm kind of hoping it has something to do with Swan Lake, because this cover definitely hints at it. Don't you think? So anyway, that concludes my Book Outlet Boxing Day book haul. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!